Back in the day, when I was a child, parenting was quite hands-on. A flying slipper sometimes meant full education. Yes, that time had its flaws. But there were moments of togetherness that are etched in me forever. Let me tell you a story. We had a secret basement in our home, in our old home. It was like a hidden treasure, a place we were forbidden to visit. But my siblings and I were no ordinary kids. We were landmines. Every rule of the house meant it had to be broken. One day, when our parents were out, we saw our chance. The basement door was open. An invitation from the universe. We tiptoed down and flicked on the lights. The smell of rust, old sweat, and leather filled the air. Dumbbells, climbing ropes, and sand-filled punching bags were neatly arranged like relics. And that's when we knew this is no ordinary basement. It's a gym. A gym my great-grandfather, a proud bodybuilder, had set up decades ago. My siblings, my cousins, my sister, everyone was all over the place. And I was playing the responsible elder sister, yelling, "Hey, don't touch this, don't climb that." And then it happened. One of my cousins, a tiny little thing, gave the heavy sandbag a big push. Now, punching it would have been difficult for him, but pushing, bam, it hit me square on the nose. Blood gushed out, staining my hands as I reached up in shock. Chaos erupted. The basement turned into a scene from an action movie. My siblings, my sister ran in all directions. Someone fetching haldi, turmeric for me. Someone to get water. My little sister cried profusely. But here is the funny thing. They weren't crying just for my bleeding nose. They knew a bigger drama was waiting for me, my mother's scolding. And they stood guard beside me like loyal soldiers. Someone wiping my tears, someone holding my hand. And that still couldn't save me from the storm that awaited. Because when my mom walked in, she transformed from my sweet mother to full-on Mother India. And I got a good thrashing. But still, just knowing that they felt what I felt, my cousins felt what I felt, eased my fear and pain. Even today, if you look closely, you can see a bridge on my otherwise beautiful nose. Life moved on, but over time, something more powerful stayed with me. The bridge of empathy. My siblings and I were a wild, mismatched group of kids. But that unspoken connection, that bridge, kept us together. Imagine how wonderful it would be if we can have that kind of understanding and connection with each other at our workplaces and our homes. During an academic research on emerging technology and innovation, when I asked AI experts how the younger generation can prepare itself for the AI future, they revealed something truly astonishing. And listen up. It wasn't data science or design thinking or coding. They said the one thing our future workforce will need more than anything else is empathy. The ability to stay friends even after a disagreement. The maturity to lead without ego. The skill to listen, resolve, and reconnect. These aren't soft skills anymore. They are survival skills in the age of AI. Because when everything else can be automated, empathy cannot. Empathy, in its simplest form, can be defined as a quiet understanding that says, I get what you're feeling, and I am with you. But while empathy is listening, confidence is speaking. And we need both to connect with each other. If empathy is the bridge, confidence helps us cross that bridge. And that is where storytelling comes into picture. Because when we tell our stories and hear theirs, listen to their stories, that is how empathy and confidence grow together. When I was a student, I made a documentary film. It was about girl-child education. I spent time with the girls from the village I was filming, listening to their stories of struggles and hopes. One of them told me how she hid her textbooks because her father thought girls didn't need to go to school. Another worked part-time jobs to fund her school uniform. These are those girls. And that's me in the scarf. Not a fashion statement, just my DIY solution to a bad hair day. The film went on to receive worldwide recognition, even fetched a few international awards. But for me, the real victory was knowing that the authenticity in these stories touched people's hearts. And that authenticity came from listening deeply to these girls who were chasing their dreams of education despite all odds. I stayed with them, eating what they ate, sleeping where they slept, understanding their challenges through their own voice. I felt their stories, and only then could find the confidence to write my script. Listening to someone's experience changes you, but sharing your own truth, telling your own story, that is where confidence begins. How many of you think of yourselves as shy or hesitant speakers? Well, actually, you don't need to answer. I know that feeling well. I've seen it in my classrooms, in my workshops, and even in myself. Today, as a professor of media and communication, a writer, a speaker, I have spent years in watching stories transform people. I once read out a story that I had written for a group of children, a little younger than you. After my storytelling session, a quiet girl who had recently lost her grandfather approached me. She whispered that she believed her grandpa was now in the stars. My story was about grief and love. And then she shared a memory of him. She said, "Ma'am, you know my grandpa? Once he fell asleep clutching a laddu, even though he wasn't allowed to eat them because of his diabetes." In the weeks that followed, this shy girl, who had barely spoken before, began sharing more stories. Some real, some wildly imaginative. Everyone was pleasantly surprised. What changed? She felt heard. And when she felt heard, she found the confidence to share her truth. So these are the workshops that I conduct. And this is how storytelling works. When you listen deeply to someone, it generates empathy. And empathy, in turn, leads to inspiration and confidence to share your truth. In my various physical and virtual public speaking clubs, I meet friends from across the globe. Once in a club in Luxembourg, I was sharing my experience as a media student, how I had been knocking at the doors of different media houses, desperate for an internship. Every rejection made me doubt myself, but each one also pushed me harder. After I finished speaking, I noticed a significant change in the way people responded to me. They seemed kinder, friendlier, despite coming from a very different culture than mine. And they said, "Hey, I have felt that too. I have been through the same struggle." My little story about my internship became a mirror to their own stories of trying and failing. How did that happen? Because stories don't care about borders. They care about hearts. Now, I want to leave you with a few simple, everyday practices to cultivate empathy and confidence through the stories we tell and hear. To make it simple, just remember to ACT, A-C-T. It's an acronym for articulate your stories, C, capture your thoughts, and T, talk and truly listen. Articulate your stories. Share a 1-minute story with a friend about your day. But instead of just saying, "I went to the class," try to add emotion. For example, I was a little nervous before the test, but this one silly thing my friend said made me laugh out loud. This improves both confidence and voice. C, capture your thoughts. Write 3 lines every night about something that mattered to you that day. Confidence grows when we realize that our life is full of meaningful stories. And finally, T, talk and truly listen. Ask a friend, ask a classmate, "What's one thing that made you smile today?" I know that might sound a bit weird to your friend, but trust me, it works. It makes people feel heard. When I was a child, we had no mobile phones, no notifications. We had time to share our stories. And that taught us to listen, to speak, and to trust that our voices mattered. Today, my friends, we need to create that time again, to tell our stories and hear theirs. Because that is how, through empathy and confidence, we can cross every boundary that divides us. Thank you so much.